Retiring at 50 sounds like something that happens to lottery winners and tech founders. It is not. Here is the mathematical reality. A household earning $80,000 per year that saves and invests 50% of their income, $40,000 annually, reaches financial independence in approximately 17 years from any starting point. Start at 33 years old and you are retired by 50. The income level is almost irrelevant. A household earning $200,000 but saving only 15% gets there far later than the $80,000 household saving 50%. Because FIRE math runs on savings rate, not income. This is not theory. It is arithmetic. And it is the central insight of the FIRE movement, Financial Independence Retire Early, which has grown from a niche personal finance philosophy into a documented lifestyle for tens of thousands of households across the United States. The average American saves between 5 and 10% of their income. At 10%, financial independence takes approximately 40 to 45 years. At 50%, it takes 17. The gap between a comfortable retirement at 50 and a stressed retirement at 65 is not luck, inheritance, or a six-figure salary. It is the percentage of your income that you keep and invest. This video gives you the exact numbers, the exact plan, and the specific problems that FIRE at 50 creates, and how to solve them. In the next 10 minutes, we are going to cover the FIRE number for someone retiring at 50, the savings rate required to get there on different income levels, the two problems unique to early retirement, healthcare and account access, and their solutions, and the 4 FIRE variants that make the strategy more flexible than most people realize. This is wealth clarity. Let's get into it. Every FIRE plan starts with a single number, your FIRE number. This is the portfolio size at which your investments generate enough annual income to cover your living expenses indefinitely. The standard calculation comes from the 4% rule, which we have covered in detail in an earlier video. You need 25 times your annual expenses. If you spend $40,000 per year, your FIRE number is $1 million. If you spend $60,000, it is $1.5 million. If you spend $80,000, it is $2 million. But here is where retiring at 50 changes the calculation compared to retiring at 65. The traditional 4% rule was modeled on a 30-year retirement period. If you retire at 50 and live to 90, which is increasingly common, your money needs to last 40 years, not 30. Many FIRE researchers in 2026 now use a 3.5% withdrawal rate for retirements longer than 35 years, which gives you a multiplier of approximately 28.6 times your annual expenses rather than 25. At 3.5%, here is what the numbers look like. $40,000 per year in spending requires approximately $1.1 million. $60,000 per year requires $1.7 million. $80,000 per year requires $2.3 million. The difference between the 4% and the 3.5% withdrawal rate might look modest as a percentage. Over a 40-year retirement using the more conservative rate meaningfully increases the probability that your money outlives you rather than the other way around. The most powerful input to this calculation is not your investment returns or your choice of index fund. It is your annual spending. Every dollar you reduce your annual expenses does two things simultaneously. It reduces your FIRE number by $25 to $28, and it frees up a dollar that can be invested, accelerating the timeline further. A $1,000 per year reduction in annual expenses reduces your required portfolio by $25,000 to $28,000 and adds to your investment contribution. The effect compounds in both directions. Savings rate is the single most powerful variable in early retirement planning. Not investment returns. Not income. The percentage of your take-home pay that you save and invest. Here is the table that most people have never seen, and that changes how almost everyone thinks about retirement timelines. At a 10% savings rate, the US average, financial independence takes approximately 42 years from any starting point. At 20%, it takes approximately 37 years. At 30%, it takes approximately 28 years. At 50%, it takes approximately 17 years. At 60%, approximately 12.5 years. At 70%, approximately 8.5 years. These numbers assume 5% real investment returns after inflation and starting from zero. The key insight, and this is the one that surprises almost everyone, is that a person earning $80,000 saving 50% reaches FIRE in the same number of years as a person earning $200,000 saving 50%, because both have the same ratio of savings to required expenses. Income scales the dollar amounts but does not change the timeline. This means that for most people, the fastest path to early retirement is not chasing a higher-paying job. It is reducing expenses to increase their savings rate. A household that earns $80,000 and cuts their annual expenses from $60,000 to $40,000, increasing their savings rate from 25% to 50%, cuts their time to financial independence from approximately 28 years to 17. An 11-year difference from a lifestyle adjustment that does not require a single dollar of additional income. Early retirement at 50 creates two specific challenges that traditional retirement planning does not face. Both have clear solutions, but ignoring either one can derail an otherwise solid FIRE plan. Problem 1 is healthcare. Medicare does not begin until age 65. Retiring at 50 means 15 years of private health insurance coverage that must be planned and budgeted for. This is the single largest financial variable for most early retirees and the one most frequently underestimated. The primary strategy used by the FIRE community in 2026 is ACA subsidy optimization. The Affordable Care Act provides health insurance subsidies based on income level. For 2026, a couple keeping their taxable income below approximately $79,000, which is 400% of the federal poverty level, qualifies for significant ACA subsidies that can reduce monthly premiums by $10,000 to $20,000 per year. Many FIRE practitioners structure their early retirement withdrawals specifically to stay below this threshold, drawing primarily from taxable brokerage accounts and doing strategic Roth conversions to keep their reported income in the subsidy range. This requires deliberate tax planning but transforms healthcare from an unmanageable cost into a manageable one. Problem 2 is account access before 59 and a half. Most retirement savings are locked in 401ks and IRAs that impose a 10% early withdrawal penalty for distributions taken before age 59 and a half. Retiring at 50 means nearly a decade of living expenses that cannot easily come from retirement accounts. The solution is the Roth conversion ladder, a strategy that converts traditional IRA or 401k funds to a Roth IRA each year and waits 5 years, after which those converted funds can be withdrawn penalty-free regardless of age. Here is how the sequencing works for a 50-year-old retiree. In the years before retirement, they build a taxable brokerage account large enough to cover approximately 5 years of expenses. At retirement, they begin the Roth conversion ladder, converting traditional IRA funds to Roth each year in amounts equal to their annual expenses. 5 years later, those converted funds become accessible penalty-free. The taxable account covers the first 5 years while the ladder is building. From year 5 onwards, Roth conversion proceeds provide penalty-free income indefinitely. This strategy requires patience and advanced planning, ideally beginning the conversions several years before you need the money. But it completely solves the account access problem without paying the 10% penalty. The FIRE movement is often presented as a single strategy requiring extreme frugality and a number well above $1 million. In practice, there are 4 distinct variants that make it far more accessible than the stereotype suggests. Lean FIRE targets annual expenses between $25,000 and $40,000 per year. A minimalist lifestyle with a FIRE number of approximately $625,000 to $1 million. This is achievable on median incomes with disciplined saving and is the most common variant among single people and couples without children in lower cost of living areas. Fat FIRE targets annual expenses above $100,000, a comfortable lifestyle with no significant compromises. The FIRE number is 2.5 million or more. This requires either high income, a very long saving period, or both. It is the least common variant but the most discussed because it is aspirational. Barista FIRE is the most practically useful variant for most people. You reach partial financial independence, enough that part-time or enjoyable work covers your remaining expenses without drawing down the portfolio aggressively. A Barista FIRE example. You need $1.5 million to fully retire on $60,000 per year. But if you earn $20,000 per year from part-time consulting, a hobby business, or a passion project, you only need to withdraw $40,000 from investments, requiring only $1 million invested. You retire 3 to 5 years sooner and maintain flexibility. Coast FIRE is the least understood but perhaps the most psychologically powerful. At some point in your investing journey, your portfolio is large enough that compound growth alone will carry it to your full FIRE number by traditional retirement age, without any additional contributions. At that point, you have coasted to retirement. You only need to earn enough to cover current expenses. The financial pressure of aggressive saving is permanently lifted. For many people, this is the milestone that changes their relationship with work entirely, because they work by choice rather than by necessity. Here is the complete picture of retiring at 50. Your FIRE number at 50 is 28 to 30 times your annual expenses, slightly higher than the standard 25 times due to the longer retirement horizon. For $40,000 per year in spending, that is approximately $1.1 to $1.2 million. For $60,000 per year, approximately $1.7 million. Your savings rate is the primary lever. At 50% of take-home pay invested, the journey from zero takes approximately 17 years, regardless of income level. The two problems unique to early retirement both have solutions. Healthcare before Medicare is managed through ACA subsidy optimization by keeping taxable income below the subsidy threshold. Account access before 59.5 is managed through a Roth conversion ladder begun 5 years before the first withdrawals are needed. And the 4 FIRE variants, Lean, Fat, Barista, and Coast, offer a spectrum of options between extreme minimalism and complete financial independence that makes the strategy genuinely accessible at a wide range of income levels. Retiring at 50 is not a fantasy. It is a plan. And like every plan, the earlier you understand it, the more time you have to execute it. If this video gave you a framework you did not have before, subscribe to Wealth Clarity. New videos every Wednesday and Saturday. YouTube will show you the perfect next video right on your screen. I will see you there.